Hey, how's it going? I'm Karl. I'm the driving force. Uh, I'd like to say the good looks, but I'll say the driving force behind Big Betty and the Barlows. Beck's the good looks. I'm just the other half. Um, Look, she's normally in front of the camera telling her story, giving her spiels about Big Betty and doTERRA. But I'd like to jump in front of it for a change and tell things from my perspective, tell you my story, where I've come from, a bit about how we started with Big Betty, and how we are using doTERRA in our lives and how that's changed our lives. So, to start with, I've got notes. Beck doesn't need notes. She's amazing. We'll be in bed and we'll wake up in the morning and she'll nudge me and say, honey, you need to be quiet, I'm about to do a live video here. And I'm like, huh? And she'll just fire away. She'll just give her spiel without, tripping up or anything. She's incredible. But I need notes. So anyway, I'm a tradie. I had my own business for 10 years or so, and around the 8th year mark into business, I realised I wasn't coping. My work schedule was huge. My workload was massive, and I couldn't get on top of it like I should have been able to. I couldn't say no to people. 9 times out of 10, I would say yes to my customers, even if I was chock a block, and that was my mistake. And physically and emotionally, I could just feel that I wasn't coping, and it was affecting my family. Especially, and I would come home at night, and I would leave before I'd see them during the day, and I'd come home at night exhausted. All I'd want to do is flop on the couch, watch telly, and not really have much time for them. So it was affecting my relationship with Beck as well as my children, and something I wish I could have seen earlier to prevent, but unfortunately, I didn't, and as a result, I paid a bit of a price there. It was pretty hard. Couple of, I was going to say months, but more like years. But it got progressively worse towards the end of our time where we were. I went and saw the doc regarding my feelings and condition, whatever, and his response to me was basically change your diet, do more exercise, you'll be right, kind of thing. And I left his office feeling worse than when I went in, and quite depressed and whatever. And I went to see my dad, and I sat down at their house, and I just said to Dad, look, Dad, I'm not coping. I said, I'd just like to hop in a bus with a family and drive off into the sunset. And he said, well, why don't you do it? I thought, yeah, why don't we do it? So anyway, I went home that night, and Beck and I were in bed. It was, I don't know, about 10 o'clock or something, and I'm thinking through my mind, how do I approach this subject with Beck, so it doesn't sound crazy, but of course when you think about buying a bus and dropping everything that you know and whatever, of course it sounds crazy, and I thought I will go for it, So I said, hey Beck, can I talk to you? And she said, yeah, of course you can talk to me. And I said, so what do you think about buying a bus? And she says, oh, what, just for a holiday or something? And I says, no, to, go and see Australia, pack up what we got here and just see the sights. And her response was basically what I thought. She said, oh, you're crazy. I said, no. She said, but she could see as well that I was serious with what I was telling her. And after a bit of discussion and seeing where I was coming from, a bit about how I was feeling and all, she said, well, look, I need time to think about this. She said, it's not every day you pack up everything the kids are in school, we've got a house, I've got my friends, you're asking me to do a lot here. I need time to think about this, I need time to process it. I said, yeah, no worries, honey, I'll give you that. I'm a generous fella, so I said I'd give her that. So about 6 o'clock the next morning before I went to work, I'm like, "Hey, honey." She's like, "What?" I said, "Have you thought about the bus?" It probably wasn't the best thing, but in my mind, 8 hours was more than enough time to think about it. But yeah. Anyway, as it turned out, about 3 or 4 weeks later, we had bought a double-decker bus, and it was sitting in my driveway at work. And once we had that, you couldn't stop me. And initially I'd planned to have it decked out within a 2-year period. With the help of my dad, we smashed it out in 18 months. And once the bus was finished, I was ready to go. But the problem was we had quite a few loose ends to tie up. The main one was our house. Our house had been on the market for 3 years. We didn't have a single offer in the 3 years it was on the market. It was on the market simply because at the stage when we put it on the market, we were planning on buying a property, building again. That's why it was on the market so early. And we basically resigned ourselves to the fact that we'd have to rent the house out while we were travelling, which didn't sit well with me. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to think about paying the extra for the mortgage, about dealing with repairs and just rental companies and just the rubbish that goes with it. And I said to Beck, I said, "Honey, I really want to sell the house." But of course there was no one to buy it. So we signed the papers for the real estate to do the rental side of things. That was about a week before we set off on our trip in the bus. And I'd basically resigned myself to the fact that we'd have to rent the house out. However, 3 days before we left on our trip, we had an offer on our house. It was incredible. It was an answer to prayer. And we accepted the offer, and the house was out of our lives, and the bus was our full-time home. So we hit the road, and it was quite a hard time for me the first 6 to 8 months on the road. I didn't work for that period of time, 6 to 8 months. I was a mess. I was a wreck. And I'm sorry to my family for not being there up here all that time. Thanks for your patience. But yeah, there was a lot of healing involved. Unfortunately, at that stage, I wasn't on board with the oils. Otherwise, I believe I would have got through it a lot easier. So this is where the oils come into it. This is where my journey with doTERRA starts. So Beck was buying the oils. She was about 12 months ahead of me, and she was slowly but surely building up her collection of oils. You know how they do. And to me, I'm just thinking, man, Beck, how many more smelly perfumes can you buy? You can only wear one at a time. Expensive perfume. And I guess the light bulb moment for me, I think you all need one with these things to convince yourself, was I cut my toe really bad, so bad that it actually severed a nerve, and even till today I can feel the nerve isn't quite right. How it happened, one of my kids came upstairs, our kitchen in the bus is upstairs, came upstairs in the middle of the night to get themselves a drink. They, smashed the glass all over the floor, and I was asleep, so Beck came and cleaned up the mess, the nice person she is, and of course the bin was full, so she put the plastic bag next to the bin on the ground, and I got up later on in the middle of the night to answer the call of nature, and I walked straight onto the plastic bag of glass, and it cut my toe really bad. Blood was going everywhere, and I was screaming to Beck to get me something, a towel or something. She didn't get me a towel. She got me the helichrysum. And she said, "Here, honey, just put 1 or 2 drops of this on." So I opened the thing, and I just poured the whole thing on. And she's like, no, don't, only 1 or 2 drops. I'm like, no, the whole thing. And anyway, the pool of blood below me was like this big, and it had all congealed. And I looked at my toe, and my toe had stopped bleeding. It was like pouring out before, but it just stopped bleeding. And for that split second, the pain had gone. I'm just like, the pain was there, but just because of the shock, I'm like, wow, this thing actually does work. And for me, I was convinced that oil worked, but I just thought, well, in 100 oils or so, they've got to have at least one that works. That's the one they put in there that works. So, I was on board with the helichrysum. In fact, when we got to Coral Bay, there was a girl who cut her foot on a filleting knife really bad. It was really bad. She was actually green in the face, and she was a little bit away from our bus. But I ran back to the bus and said, "Quick, Beck, I need the helichrysum." It took me a little while. By the time I got back to her, the ambos had come. I was going to say she had died, but no, that wouldn't be right. The ambos were there. They'd taken care of her. So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to share the oil with her. But that's what it's like with doTERRA. Once you find that think they work, you just want to share it, and that's where I'm at the moment. They are incredible oils, but as I say, it still took me a little longer to be convinced. It wasn't until I had a few tummy upsets and cold and the flu, and Beck would give me Digesten and On Guard and stuff like that. That I saw the results, and I saw the benefits in my family. Some of them have had breathing issues and stuff in the past, and seeing how the oils have really assisted them, it's been incredible. And now we use doTERRA in our everyday life. But basically the sealer for me was going to convention down at Gold Coast and listening to Dr. David Hill. He's an incredible fella. Here's the science behind it all, and actually seeing all the science up on the screen on how the oils work, how they work with the cells in the body, and they assist the immune system and all this stuff. It's really quite incredible. So for me, that was a sealer, and I'm really quite excited about trying more oils and introducing them into my life. For me, doTERRA as a whole, I think anything else is a compromise. They're an awesome company, extremely ethical, and the fact is that they're the purest oils you can get. And I'm fully on board with them now, and we'd love to share the oils with you too. Beck's a wealth of knowledge with oils. Any questions, just don't get me to answer them. I'll send you down the wrong path. But anyway, that's my story. I'm glad to share it with you, and I hope I can share more. Thanks for listening.